Police on the back foot over response time and crime scene control in the shocking Verulam child abuse case.
We certainly cannot give a guarantee that the security of supply is not under threat.
Electricity supply concerns for tomorrow as Eskom employees picket over a 0% wage increase. And in sport, tributes pour in for prop Tendai Mtawarira ahead of his 100th cap for the Springboks. This is eNews at 8. I'm Sally Burdett. Good evening. We start in Durban and serious concerns this evening about the way the police have handled the suspected rape and abuse of a 10-year-old girl in Verulam, allegedly by her stepfather. The police admit mistakes were made and have now replaced the investigating officer on this case. THIS reports that the rape suspect is in custody and will appear in court tomorrow.
Was a 10-year-old girl held captive in this room and sexually assaulted by her stepfather? That's what police are investigating, and the accused 44-year-old man is in custody. But eNCA has established that serious mistakes were made by the original investigating officer.
The cluster commander has ordered that an internal disciplinary investigation be instituted, and obviously we're just not discounting the fact that there might be criminal charges pressed arising from this internal process.
That so-called evidence was collected by neighbors after the man was assaulted by them on Monday night. A phone the neighbors claim belongs to him was also taken. It allegedly contains messages that may point to the existence of a sex ring. The room was only cordoned off about 12 hours after police were alerted.
SAPS came here. They took the suspect to the hospital, but they left the victim back. And how can they do something like that, you know?
The little girl was rescued by neighbors on Sunday after she confided in them about 5 years of alleged sexual abuse.
The child told me that she is the step because whenever he hits her, he tells her, you know what, the way I killed your mother, I will kill you the same way.
The Social Development Department says it's still in the process of tracing the child's family. For now, though, she'll be receiving counseling and any other necessary treatment. A new investigating officer has been appointed, and the suspect is expected to appear in court on Thursday. THIS Verulam in Durban.
Eskom says it cannot afford increases this year, even in the face of a national picket by workers tomorrow. Unions want a 15% increase. Today, Eskom acknowledged they cannot guarantee power supplies will be unaffected by the industrial action. Samkele Maseko attended the utilities briefing in Johannesburg today.
Is zero acceptable, and is it sustainable? The question we're putting in here is, if we were saying that this is cast in stone, then there would be no need for us to have a neutral arbitrator.
A stalemate at the power utility has resulted in unions, the National Union of Mine Workers and the National Union of Metal Workers of South Africa, and solidarity to approach the CCMA for arbitration. Workers started with industrial action at power stations in Mpumalanga. Eskom Group CEO Pagamani Khadebe says he can't say Eskom generation won't be affected.
If Eskom employees keep to the acceptable processes that should be followed, we don't see any problem with the security of supply. However, if they endeavor outside of those processes, like some of the skirmishes that happened today, then we are worried.
Eskom's Tava Governor echoes Khadebe and says some workers are being intimidated.
There were people that were willing to come to work, severely intimidated. They were threatened, their families and their children were threatened as well. And that's obviously reduced the number of staff that we got on site. So is the security of supply under threat? Obviously, with those amount of stations, we certainly cannot give a guarantee that the security of supply is not under threat.
The power utility is facing turbulent times with labour relations. Workers will be picketing outside the headquarters here at Megawatt Park tomorrow. An independent arbitrator from the CCMA has been brought in to break the current impasse between the unions and the power utility. Samkele Maseko, Johannesburg.
One of the reasons Eskom cannot afford increases is the more than 13 billion rand it's owed by various municipalities and starting to cut power to areas that are not paying. Today, parliamentarians heard just how bad things are for towns and cities in the red. Piladi Situsa was in Parliament.
Eskom is turning the lights off in municipalities that owe it money. The problem is compounded by the mismatch in when they can collect monies from consumers and when they have to pay Eskom.
We were given 15 days to pay, while we give consumers 30 days. Automatically, it will accumulate interest. And this is a pattern that we want to flag.
There was an admission that credit control was very poor in most owing municipalities, with less than 30% of all domestic and business consumers actually paying their bills.
In February, there were no billing for 8 months. There were no receipts and payments captured in the system. And that's the revenue that has been lost for the period of 8 months. We have since terminated this particular service provider. This week, the residents and the customers of Maluti will for the first time receive a bill.
There was a suggestion that in mining towns, Eskom stop selling directly to mines. Instead, municipalities could be the main suppliers to drive up revenue. Municipalities say they are owed billions by households, businesses and government, which if paid could begin to alleviate their cash flow problems. Piladi Situsa, Parliament.
The Public Protector was in Parliament today. She seems unfazed by calls for her to be sacked following several questionable investigation reports. The Democratic Alliance says it's not sure if Busisiwe Kobani understands her job. Lester Kivet reports.
It can't be said the Public Protector is the darling of Parliament and its committees at the moment. Last week, Busisiwe Kobani skipped a meeting with the Justice Committee. She said it was because of a family emergency, but was criticised for not sending her deputy.
So for me, I took it, that responsibility is not delegated to the Deputy Public Protector. Hence, I wanted to come myself.
Mkhwebane is not bothered that some opposition parties are calling for a parliamentary inquiry to determine whether she's suited to the job.
We've got a democracy in South Africa, and it's a vibrant democracy, and it shows that our democracy is very vibrant. So the deliberations will take place with the members of the committee.
The DA is calling for Mkhwebane to be removed.
It's your deliberation. It's not a deliberation I need to be a part of or anybody else. It's your committee's deliberation. And I'm not usurping those powers. But I would say there's no harm in doing it. I think that we would be protecting ourselves from the charge that we've been derelict in our duty in terms of exercising oversight and accountability.
But the committee says before making a decision, it wants Mkhwebane to defend herself.
There's a rule of natural justice that we must hear the other side.
The committee will schedule a meeting to hear out Mkhwebane and decide on her fate. Lester Kivet, Parliament.
Police were also in Parliament today reporting on this year's spike in cash and transit heists. Figures for the first 5 months of this year are almost as high as the entire 2016-2017 year. But police are confident they will turn the tide. They say intelligence gathering is key and they have a plan to infiltrate heist gangs. But as Leanne Jansen reports, unions and opposition MPs are not convinced.
These have become almost daily sights. The brazen attacks on cash-in-transit vehicles. The numbers are shocking. The SAPS says it's instituted a 5-point plan to deal with the issue.
Various intelligence units will gather intelligence in the identified hotspot areas of the CITs in the country. That intelligence will be then analysed at a central point.
MPs and the unions are less than impressed with the police's assurances.
I must express a sense of underwhelm with the SAP's submission, in that, once again, like when we had the spate of mall robberies, we've received a presentation that outlines the theoretical operational framework of what should be done, but little of that seems especially groundbreaking
Last year we had about 159 heists, so basically it's a 100% increase in 1 year. I think, Chair, that you see the heists being increasingly violent and lethal. We've seen a 30% rise in vehicle bombings, a 3,000% rise in ATM bombings. It shows we're in a serious crisis, Chair, and we're not winning this war.
Leanne Jansen, Cape Town.
Still ahead on eNews, the Limpopo Education Department is taking action against 2 pupils seen in this video. Optimum coal mine workers have not been paid since April. Workers have been protesting at the Gupta-owned mine and they're now planning a shutdown. Union representatives say a letter from management assuring workers they'll be paid next week cannot be trusted.
They are very angry about the letter because the letter doesn't tell them anything. I think someone is busy playing games with these poor employees. First of all, they are saying on or about the 20th. There's no guarantee that they will get their payments on the 20th of June. And you ask yourself, why was a promise made earlier on that they will be paid today? And then later on, there's now a shift of goalposts that they will only be paid next week, which is clear that someone is busy sitting wherever he's sitting, playing with the poor employees here. Because these people haven't been paid since April. The last time they get payment, it was in April.
Yet another video showing 3 pupils fighting has gone viral on social media, once again casting the spotlight on violence in schools. Today, the Limpopo Education Department verified the authenticity of the video and where it comes from. Now, please be warned, the story does contain graphic images. Limpopo education authorities have condemned this 21-second clip, which shows one pupil grabbing a classmate by her hair while a second kicks her from behind. It is not a teacher as originally thought. Now, it's not yet clear what led to this altercation, but the department says the victim was assaulted outside her home after school. The pupils attend a school in Seshego in Polokwane, Limpopo. The department says the pupils will face disciplinary action. Rival groups in the towing industry are accusing the Automobile Association of being bullies. They say the AA is keeping its towing rates low in a bid to edge out smaller companies. Now, the AA denies this and has called on government to regulate the industry. Linda Kuhle-Kulu has the story.
Sorry, don't interrupt me. I'm not interrupting you. Give me the respect.
What was supposed to be a meeting focused on better customer service turned into a squabble between the Automobile Association and several other groups in the towing industry. A group of associations is accusing the AA of manipulating prices in order to make smaller competitors unsustainable.
They've gone into a deal that's bad for towers. They are using their dominant position in the market to suppress prices and rates, and what that does, it means that black towers, white towers across the country are going to earn less.
The rival associations are saying the AA is not only suppressing prices but is also not serious about transformation. And despite being competitors, they say they'll fight together to ensure their survival.
When it comes down to the fundamentals, we all stand shoulder to shoulder. The fundamentals are transformation and sustainability, and you can't transform an unsustainable industry.
But AA says the problem lies in the industry remaining unregulated. CEO Collins Khumalo denies trying to suppress prices.
Based on our work, and our work includes actuarial valuations as to what's the cost of a truck, what's the cost of running a truck, what's the cost of fuel, what's the cost of diesel, and putting all of those costs together, we then come up with a price.
Khumalo says government intervention would help solve the issues in the industry. The smaller groups are calling for a boycott of the AA. They've refused to work with the association until an agreement on pricing can be reached. Linda Kuhle-Kulu, Johannesburg.
A reminder of your top stories this evening. Police on the back foot over response time and crime scene control in the shocking Verulam child abuse case. Electricity supply concerns for tomorrow as Eskom employees picket over a 0% wage increase. And finally, as football fans gear up for the start of the World Cup in Russia tomorrow, an international competition of a different kind has been taking place in France. It involves saucisson, a special type of dry cured sausage. Over 200 samples from 13 countries were tasted and awarded prizes in several different categories. Fillings range from pork and duck to horse, even kangaroo. The different entrants were judged on a variety of strict criteria, including the amount of salt, the smell, the texture and the overall pleasure of eating the saucisson. The winners of the sausage event will be officially announced on June the 21st. Saucisson? Just drew a horse with a fancy name, I reckon. And that's the news from me and the team. Take care and good night.